entry-level hardware on this channel, don't we normally recommend just getting mid-tier older generation stuff?
We do usually tell you to either save up, you know, hey, just wait, right? Because it's going to pay off more, or go back in time and get the same performance with older parts that are used and you pulled out of a dumpster or an estate sale or an office that's shutting down. But today we're going to talk about something a little different.
It's going to be a lot of fun. All right, so we're talking about the ASRock AB350 Gaming K4, obviously, because that's on the desk. But what about when paired with a Ryzen 3 1300X?
Now, we've never talked about the Ryzen 3 1300X, and there's a good reason we've never talked about it, because like we say in the intro, why not get the R5, right? Why not just wait a little bit, save up a little bit more money, get the R5, because you're talking about 4 cores, you're talking about some not great performance in comparison. A little bit more money, you could go a lot further. So we thought about, well, where would this actually, why would we ever build this system? We came up with a good answer.
Access to the modern features of the platform really is probably the best feature. You can get the AM4 socket. AMD has been very good about providing socket upgradability, so you can get whatever comes after Ryzen 7. You probably get it and use it with this slot. You get M.2, you get USB Type-C, reversible. You get the modern features that you just are not going to get when you buy a used Sandy Bridge machine.
So upgradability is the big one, but also, what if you're in a situation where you're building this PC for somebody else and they might be a little bit insulted to find that it came from, you know, an office that went out of business? Or
you did what now? Where did this come from?
The dumpster. Maybe it's got like the stickers over everything. It's like property of so-and-so university. So
I don't know anything about that.
We're going to call this build the mother-in-law.
So the first thing is the Ryzen 3 1300X. The biggest feature of this is you get a cooler in the box. Like the Ryzen 5 1600 and the Ryzen 7 1700, you get the cooler in the box, but this has the distinction of being X, which means you're going to get 100 megahertz XFR boost. So even though it is 4 cores, you're going to get a little bit of a performance bump with that XFR additional boost. And, you know, that'll make the difference for the Facebook machine. Maybe you're getting your mother-in-law into Skyrim, so I'd put a graphics card in there. Maybe that would work. I don't know.
And you aren't likely to need any more cooling than that with this processor. I mean, it's okay. This build is not something that's going to demand an all-in-one or a custom loop water cooler.
Yeah.
So save some money, and that's sort of the order of the day. We want this build. The challenge is all new parts, so we're not dumpster diving anything, but super budget for the current generation.
Probably for the memory, I would go either a single 8 gig stick with plans to get another 8 gig stick later, or maybe 2 4 gig sticks for dual channel. Dual channel, the performance benefit is there. Now, if you're not doing any kind of gaming at all, you're just doing light applications, a single stick of memory is going to be fine. You can upgrade that later. But for dual channel, if you're going to push this machine at all, dual channel would probably be worth it.
For the video card, now this CPU doesn't have onboard video, so you're going to have to give it something for video card. We're thinking maybe something in the neighborhood of a 1050, which will actually let you game. You know, hey, 1050 in this processor, you can do it. Not going to be high settings. You could go crazy and throw a 1080 at this system if you really wanted to. Again, we would suggest that you upgrade the CPU. But maybe you're, you know, if maybe you're like, I want a gaming PC now, and I want to upgrade it piecemeal, that's something you could do. They put the 1050 in it now, move up to the 1080, move the CPU up. We expect this socket to be viable for a while. So you could, you know, this could be like a home improvement type of thing. You know, you buy it now, you build it up.
Now, depending on when you're watching this video, another type of CPU may be available, an APU that fits in the AM4 socket, and that would give you onboard video, decent onboard video, and that's likely to be a less expensive CPU even in the Ryzen 3. Whether or not that'll fit in your particular use case, that'll be up to you, but that may also be an option you should keep in mind.
Because of the CPU, and because you're probably going to be putting a smaller power graphics card in here, you can also cut with the PSU. You know, you're not going to need a ton of wattage to run all this stuff. Now, if you're doing the whole, like, you know, build forward thing, you might want to go ahead and deal with that now rather than buy another one later. But If you don't want to, you can cut another corner there.
350 to 400 watts, I think, would be our general recommendation. There are higher end, if that is such a thing, 350 watt PSUs that will give you a single 6-pin power connector so that you could run, you know, something like an RX 580 graphics card with its, you know, single 6-pin type power connector. Even at 350 watts, I mean, we're talking about a 65 to 95 watt TDP CPU. 350 watts is still even overkill. It's down to your graphics card that you pick. Well, the gaming performance, we put a EVGA GTX 1060 in there, which I think probably cost more than the entire rest of the machine combined.
And we recommended like a 1050 when we told you the build. We had a 1060 laying around, so we thought, why not? The gaming performance was more than we expected.
It really was. You can definitely tell that the 4-core, 4-thread Ryzen 3 struggles a little bit. We tested GTA 5, Tomb Raider, and other games and other scenarios. Any game that is highly multi-threaded is going to suffer because of the CPU. I think we said is like, well, you could put a 1080 in here, but I think we'd strongly recommend a more powerful CPU.
Yeah, you're gonna, and plus with the bare bones power supply that we put in here, was it 380 watts? 380
watts.
We really cut corners, so you don't want to do that with a 1080. We're gonna rescind our 1080 recommendation and say keep it simple, keep a 1050, 1060, something like that going on here, and upgrade your CPU before you go further.
It actually did really well with the 1060. I mean, you know, for games that deal well with 4 cores, 4 threads, 1060 actually ran pretty well, which is, I mean, that's just a testament to how good the Ryzen line in general is.
But for under $500, the performance we got with all new parts,
not counting the graphics card, under $500.
And well, that's we used a different graphics card than we.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But I'm sure 1050 would do pretty well.
Yeah.
In the same scenario. And you got yourself a nice little computer. Give it away. You know, make somebody really happy.
Now, overclock ability. It is an unlocked CPU. You can overclock it. Even with the included cooler, you can overclock the CPU a little bit. We think that probably if you can overclock, you should start with the RAM, because the RAM and the Infinity Fabric speed is going to make the bigger difference. We put some insanely inexpensive G-Skill 2133 DDR4. You probably should shoot for 2400 or maybe 2666 and run your RAM at a higher clock first. That'll help you the most. And then you could maybe bump your CPU speed up a couple of 100 megahertz. But the included CPU cooler, you're not going to be doing 4 gigahertz.
Yeah, I don't think we don't think about this as an overclock build, right? The mother-in-law is not, if she gets into overclocking, you're going to have to upgrade her. You know, that's...
If you are, if your frames are dipping down to like 40 or 45, though, you could probably overclock it just enough to make up the difference so that your minimums don't dip that low. So think about it in those kind of terms. It's like you're not going to overclock it enough to keep a 1080 fed, but if your minimums with the 1060 are like 35, 45, and you want it to be more like 50, 55, well, you can probably overclock it that far. Now, in terms of like the rest of the system, cooling fans, drives, literally anything will work, whatever you can get your hands on. This motherboard does have M.2, so you could get a high-end M.2 if you want, but honestly, a SATA SSD is probably all you really need, and you could even go mechanical hard drive. As we put this system together, we had a Fractal Focus G, which is a very nice, economical case, and it made sense to use that for this build.
But we just happen to have it. So this is the kind of build, I'm not even sure we'd tell you to go out and buy a case, you know?
Just use it on top of the motherboard box.
Just find one, or, get one of those old cases on eBay for $5 or whatever, because, again, you're not going to be mounting a radiator. You're not going to be doing anything crazy. You got the cooler already with it. It's just whatever you can get.
The chipset does have RGB, so that's nice. I mean, that's a nice touch.
maybe just carve your own window.
Just get the Dremel tool out and go to town. But the surprising thing about this is that the system is as capable as it is. Putting this thing together and using the system and using the Ryzen 3 1300X, this is a very, very capable system. Your mother-in-law should be very happy with this.
Yeah, like you said, basic gaming, you're going to get her into Skyrim. You turn the settings down, she could probably play PUBG.
Yeah,
that's going to keep her out of your hair for a long time if you can get her addicted to PUBG. And this system will do that.
Does anybody else have any good mother-in-law games? That would be a good thing to put in the comments.
Minecraft.
This may actually end up being one of our more popular videos because it's like, wow, I can give my mother-in-law something as a peace offering, and I can, you know, preload it with all these cheap, inexpensive games.
And so the advantage of buying everything new, right, is so Christmas is coming up. Assuming you're watching this one near sometime that we posted it, which is going to be, you know, like October, November. But imagine you get all this stuff for under 500.
Yeah.
Right? But you're going to get all these boxes. So you wrap all the boxes individually, you put them under the tree, and she's like, oh my God, there's like 8 boxes for me. And then you break out the built PC and you look like a real hero.
Now, this video would not be complete if we didn't take an opportunity to at least crap on Intel a little bit. Now, disclaimer, I actually really like Intel a whole bunch, but at the low end of the market, especially entry-level PCs like this, Intel does not make any sense. I mean, they get the new 300 series chips out, but only the overclockable chips are available. They get the new quad-core i3s at the low end and the Pentium CPUs, but I think Intel has forgotten how to do some stuff in terms of like the value proposition. The AM4 platform, I mean, this motherboard will run a Ryzen 7 1800X, no problems. So, I mean, it's an 8-core, 4.1 gigahertz XFR CPU. We're not putting that in it today, but this is a much better platform for longevity and those types of piecemeal upgrades than the alternatives.
Yeah, Intel, the thing about Intel is they're on the back foot. Who knows what they're going to do next year or the year after that.
Or 8 months down the road, as in the case from the Z270 to the Z370 upgrade.
So you're talking about, you know, I want that i7 in this system. I want to upgrade to the good CPU. I just can't right now. Or, you know, maybe as the mother-in-law gets more and more addicted to whatever, you know, and she's like, I need more power. So next Christmas, hey, break out the new CPU and the 1080. Or wherever you want to go. With Intel, there's no guarantee that you're going to be able to keep using that board for a really long time.
And it may be impossible to find those older generation CPUs to swap in. You know, for the people that are still rocking Sandy Bridge, they were swapping server CPUs because any other CPU was unavailable. And I don't think that's really super sustainable with this generation of hardware. So all in all, Ryzen 3 1300X on the AB350, it's a solid build. It really is, even though it's entry level.
Yeah. And probably most of our audience is yawning right now, but think about it for a gift or getting somebody into building their own PC. You know, maybe you got a kid and you don't want to spend $1,000 on your kid's PC, but they want to be able to game and stuff. And it's like, hey, just get them all the parts for Christmas and help them build it. You know,
this would also make a great basis for a home server. We covered a home server that was a little bit more high-end, let's say, but this actually would make a great basis for the home server, not just because of the parts, but also the PCI Express layout, which we'll cover in the home server video. So a lot of alternative use cases for PCs as well, other than, you know, full-time desktop use.
And it's cheap. So for our preferred current generation rock bottom build, all new parts, here it is, the mother-in-law.
I'm Wendell.
I'm Ryan.
And if you embark on this journey, you know, share pictures with us on the Level 1 forums. We'd love to see. Or if you want to critique our build or substitute in some parts or whatever, let us know in the Level 1 forums. We'll see you there.